You know, people should literally despise selfishness in themselves and then despise the stupidity that it begets. When you're a selfish person, you do a lot of stupid things. And when you're not a selfish person, you wonder why selfish people do stupid things. And you can't internalize that. You can't take it personal. You're just like, God damn, that's just stupid. That's selfish, right? Like with that one video they had on, I think it was on Facebook, And the guy was just called himself a stoic, and he's married to this stoic girl, and she said, "No, you're responsible for your feelings, not me." And it's like, that's bullshit. If you make a commitment with somebody and you make an agreement, and then that person willfully, selfishly just disregards that agreement, okay, then you're not making yourself upset. She's making you upset. And then if she continues to make you upset because she does not honor that agreement, then you're making yourself upset. Okay. But if she's the one responsible for the negative act, then she's responsible for the reaction. Okay. If you continue to persist thinking she's going to honor that commitment, then you're causing it. Okay. But, if you're going to be stoic, you got to understand, okay, we came to an agreement and then you didn't uphold that agreement. Then naturally, you're the cause of him being upset. Okay. If he stays, then he's the cause of him being upset. But, I'm upset with you. You lied to me. Well, that's your problem. There ain't no more because I'm gone. Right? But and that's how you handle being upset with somebody that's full of shit and selfish and stupid. It's okay. I'm upset with you. That disappointed me. That hurt my feelings. Okay. Well, that's your problem. Ain't no more. Because I ain't, I'll be going in the morning, so, all around the world, you can't find it. So, that's it. And so as an intelligent human being, you have to understand your emotions, why you're upset, if you remain upset, like when my wife's left, I was not sad. I was not upset. Okay. They were mean to me. They were selfish and they were horrible to me. So when we broke up, it was like, okay, I'm good. When me and Law was a little bit different, we were apart and we made promises. And then she told me how, what an emotional cripple I was and how this and that and that. And then, that was the beginning of the rest of my relationships, them telling you all about them and what a bad person you are. And it's like, no, you're talking about you. Fuck. And then you understand that selfishness causes brain damage. And then the stupidity from selfishness causes us to have to try to function within this brain damage. Okay. And then as you look and you watch and you listen and you just observe and you listen to people, you realize that very few of us are not radically affected by this brain damage. That's why you have Muhammad. That's why you have Confucius. That's why you have, there's these few people, okay, that have the capacity to step outside the mind and understand the glory of the soul, and then be able to maintain their proper brain activity. But it's hard. You have to have like baselines, and you have to like, what? Like, Jesus always kept me, and others that I knew were present in my life because of who I am. Okay. But we're not all that fortunate. But the thing about it is the people that are that fortunate because they have that unwavering faith, they deserve all the good things about them. I deserve my aptitude, my IQ, my capacity to understand, reason, and think. I deserve my immune system. I deserve my capacity to have dopamine and endorphins that can protect people and children from selfish, stupid, aggressive, violent people. I deserve it, right? And so, when people can trust you because you're faithful, you deserve these, quote, abilities or talents as you receive it to help people just understand eternity better. And you listen to Feynman. I listen to Feynman, and there are a lot of things I like about Richard Feynman. Okay, but you got to understand that Feynman is wrong on a lot of accounts. That nature doesn't care. You're looking at it wrong. Okay, when you do right by nature, nature does more right by you. So it's more about when you're in harsh, archaic, irrational conditions because you're forced to by irrational human interactivity. It's not nature's fault that they're assholes. Just like I tell people, you can't go hide in a cave, meditate, and then come out and tell us how to live among the living. So don't give me all that Buddhist monk bullshit or any of that priest bullshit. That's horse shit, right? And so get up and help people understand nature. Help understand, God's omniscient, grace is infinite. God's omniscient, omnipotent, and grace is infinite, right? And then life is eternal through the natural laws provided by the gift of life from this infinite essence. So you have to be able to understand and obey and explain the laws and explain why we're obeying the laws, why it's necessary, okay? Why selfish people can't do whatever the fuck they want and it go without consequences and then not have results that are like, this sucks, which it does. Okay. And so, I just didn't want to talk today. I slept for about 12 hours, but, some things made me uncomfortable and I just was not wanting to talk. I was waiting for the video to load last night and I listened to Brian Cox and Neil deGrasse Tyson talk, as long as it took to load the video, which was probably about another 20 or 30 minutes. And mostly they talked about, I I went and listened to that band, which I had not heard. I was thinking of Things Can Only Get Better. I was thinking of Howard Jones, which lots of people like Howard Jones. Oh, things can only get better. And I really like Howard Jones. My favorite is, of course, No One Ever to Blame. But Howard Jones he's from the earlier 80s. And he's a very likable character. His songs are, pretty good. And he has a nice voice and he's so I thought that's the song I thought of, when his Things Can Only Get Better. And then when I listened to the other one, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I like Howard Jones better. it's like nice. It's it's got kind of like not so much In Excess. I like some of In Excess's songs, which is the Beds Are Burning guys, kids from Down Under and stuff. It's got kind of a vibe like that, and I was like, okay, like Future Show, right? I got a Rare Shades kind of thing, and I was like, okay, it's. I like Howard Jones better. I thought it was Howard Jones. I was like, no, I like that song. Things can only get better. And the thing about it is when things are selfish and stupid, if we as humans stop being selfish and the stupidity of selfishness does not affect us, things can only get better. Okay. So Feynman's wrong. Okay. Nature, when you look at, attrition, things like that, getting older and stuff, you can be physically fit and a selfish fucking cow and makes people's life fucking miserable. And then when you stop being a selfish fucking cow, things can only get better, right? And physics will apply the same way. When people stop driving cars to do selfish, stupid things, and the ecosystem recovers like it did during COVID protocols, and we maintain intelligence and faithful love instead of that stupidity, things can only get better as far as us recovering from that abuse and that selfish stupidity. Now, attrition comes and you get older. You get older and then you pass away. But the quality and the beauty and your respect and regard of nature, which sustains your existence, better or for worse, richer or poor, sickness and health. When you understand that you don't need worse because you're a selfish, stupid cow. Okay. And what's better than being right and being faithful? So for better, when you look at it, those are mating vows put together by people that thought they understood Adam, Moses, David, Jesus, John, Muhammad. People that thought they understood what they were talking about. Uh, and so we have a lot of things, if you read the Constitution, my dad gets so mad at me. He was like, Dad, that document is no. It's like talking to Shelby Foote. It's like, hell no. If you can understand the Bible and you understand Proverbs, okay, the Constitution, Declaration, it has little to do with Proverbs, if at all, okay? The way they see the creator is an egotistical projection of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's bullshit. Okay. Now, in the Bible, it says, grace is omnipotent and omnipotent, and then you have to honor the natural laws given to you by the glory of God in order to sustain an eternal existence through faithfully loving one another. And that's not mentioned at all, or adhered to, or understood at all in any of the documentation of the Magna Carta, of the Constitution, of the Bill of Rights, of the Declaration, all that bullshit. Okay? That's all made up bullshit. It's make-believe bullshit by a bunch of selfish, stupid assholes who think they can tell you what to do because they all agree to be selfish, stupid assholes. And that's fucked, right? Vulgar intercourse, isn't it though? So, as we are correcting, as it is now, I'm feeling better that I picked up the phone and talked because I just didn't want to talk. I was just irritated, agitated, And sorry, I'm watching the football game between Miami and Louisville. And but shit. just, wow. And I understand the brain damage. I understand the relative interactive effects of brain damage and people's selfishness and why people do selfish things and why people react irrationally to selfish and violent and stupid things, behaviors. And, when Brian was sitting there talking about how, that Kleider thing they work on, where you should do the Crichton thing. You guys are so busy asking yourself if you should, you don't ask yourself, if you could, don't ask yourself if you should. You're doing this. No, you're just being excessive and compulsive and selfish. You're not being intelligent. When you look at things, you wouldn't have done nuclear fusion, fission, and blown it. So there's so many things that they're doing and that they do. It's like, is that necessary? Okay, if it's necessary, yeah, let's do it. Certain kind of rocket propulsions, if we decide some of us decide, if the Earth goes completely, I'll just go with it. And other people, I'd like to go find another place to live. That's their decision, right? And then in us that say we don't want to go, we'd rather just blow up with the planet. We don't have the right to sit there and say, no, you cannot come up with a way to try to find life on another planet. We don't have that right. Okay. And if we know and we have the scientific evidence, okay, this is no longer going to be a place viable to live. And other people decide, well, we'd like to try to live somewhere else. The people that say they don't want to do that, we don't have the right to tell them, no, go ahead. Actually, we'll help you with the science projects and stuff. And even if I stay here and blow up with it and stuff like that, I'll still make sure that you have a way to try to go to Alpha Centauri to continue the life of sacrifice. Right? That's the way it should be. That's honoring the gift of life. That's honoring one another. Okay. So, and money's not real, so stop being fucking manipulative little I feel powerful and pretty bitches about it, you fucking assholes. Okay. Grouchy, right? I like to clean, I like to cook, when I'm feeling good and healthy. And when you just don't feel good as healthy, you don't want to get up and do the things, every little ordinary things that everyone ought to do, because you're so tired of being abused by selfish fucking cows that sit there and give lip service to the spirit of myself, but don't do anything like the spirit of myself in actual physical existence. So it kind of sucks. I look forward to, cooking, cleaning, sex is overrated. Sex is only good if you're having sex with a faithful woman. And I haven't been able to do that my whole life because of psychotic, aggressive perverts like you. We'll talk later. Like I said, I really don't feel much like talking today. All right, peace out.